Now this is pretty typical of most people's lists. If you look at other YouTubers or lists online, this is pretty typical. And I'm going to explain to you right now why it's dog shit. Okay? It's so misleading. You need 2 healers. We're a team. Why are we ranking them individually? Yo, what's up, guys? So, you guys want to know my opinion on the healers? Like, ranking them? I'll give you my opinion. Because, I think that all these people out there that say, Astro is the most difficult class, and it's the most rewarding, and it's clearly the best healer, I think they don't know what they're talking about. So, I'm going to rank the healers today from difficulty, fun, and then most importantly, raid performance, and then we'll also do dungeon performance, because I think it's a mistake to give a class an overall ranking for everything, for like solo content, for dungeons, for raid, and then to give it one rank. It's a mistake. So I'm breaking it up. That's the point. Alright, so first up is difficulty. Now, I think it's pretty clear that White Mage is the easiest. So if this is like easy, then S tier is easy. Okay, so White Mage is the easiest. When people are hurt, you heal them. When they're not, you do damage. There's not a lot of predicting damage, and it's pretty straightforward. Next is Astro, and I would rank Astro as the most difficult. So let me label these. So Astro is the hardest to learn. Okay, it's really fast, which can kind of catch people off balance. You can weave. Now this I think is the most crucial mechanic of Astro, is that you can weave an ability between every single global cooldown. That's because your cast timer is like 2/3 of the GCD. So your gameplay is going to be very fast, very clicky, very high APM. Rarely are you ever only casting one ability each global cooldown. So Astro very difficult to learn, as well as your opener is a huge pain in the ass. You're basically rushing to get your big party buff out by playing 3 different card types, and you're rushing to get it out on time to match like Trick Attack or other people's burst windows or pot timings. So yeah, it can be hard to learn. Last up is Scholar. So Scholar is harder than White Mage, but easier than Astro. We have off global cooldown abilities, but it's much slower paced than Astro. Now, I have a bit of a hot take here. I think that Scholar becomes more difficult the better at it you get. Why? Because you can optimize Scholar beyond belief, okay? You can just keep pushing the boundaries of how efficient you are with your heals. Your Sacred Soil lasts like 15 seconds. You can place it at just the right time, so that way it blocks multiple mechanics. You have way more raid heals to manage than Astro, and you could just be, if the more efficient you are with like casting your Rune 2s, like the more you can minimize your casts of Rune 2, and you can really push Scholar pretty far, I think. And what makes Astro hard to learn, I think also makes it easy to master. And that might sound crazy. That might sound absolutely crazy to everyone, but the truth is that this decision making that Scholar has to make, as far as when to stop casting Broil so that way they can weave in abilities, Astro doesn't have to really worry about that. They get to weave something every single global cooldown. So while that makes it fast and hard to learn, the decision making is not on the same level as Scholar. They can move more freely, cast things more freely, and I find that makes it easier once you master playing your cards and whatnot, and that becomes second nature. Alright, let's get these out of here. My next category is fun. Now, everyone here is having a great damn time, except for White Mage, right? That shit no fun, right? I don't want to play White Mage. I don't like White Mage, but I'm joking. I'm completely joking. I don't like. Please don't get mad. I'm not trying to say White Mage is easy, because this game is hard in general, and I'm also not trying to say that White Mage is not fun. I like more active playstyles, so I tend to lean towards Astro or Scholar. I play Scholar, but that's just me personally. It depends on what you're looking for. So this category is kind of a meme. All right, let's move on. Raid performance. All right, so I have a picture here, and it describes what healer is good at what. So let's start with White Mage. Powerful regen, strong personal damage if you're allowed to sit in turret, okay? Strong tank healing, strong raid-wide healing, but your cons are that you'd have no raid damage buff like Astro and Scholar both have. You're very immobile, even more immobile than Scholar, and constantly must choose between healing and dealing damage. So let's just make it our baseline. This is a good class. There are no bad classes. I mean, there's the healers are more balanced than most, and everything is pretty balanced, but the healers are really damn balanced. But White Mage is going to be our baseline. Scholar, I feel like, is on the same level as White Mage. We're a shield class, so we complement White Mage pretty well. We have the best mitigation. We have a high number of raid-wide healing cooldowns. We can still heal while doing damage. So the raid buff and the casting while doing damage is what separates us from the White Mage, right? Like, I mean, aside from being polar opposites as far as regen and shields. But it comes at a cost, and we cannot tank heal. We can't spam heal emergencies for emergencies, like in one healer situations. So what I mean by that is, like, it doesn't really make sense to spam Succor over and over if, like, you are panic healing. You know what I mean? Like, it's if you don't have cooldowns, it can be really hard to top the raid off from 0 to full. And of course, you can't really control who your fairy targets. So, like I said, I think that they're pretty equal. Now, Astro. Astro has pretty much everything that you could ever wish for in a healer. It has the best raid damage buffs. It can flex between regen and shield spec. It rarely has to compromise damage at all to move or to heal. And this is what I'm talking about. This is why I think it's not as hard as everyone thinks it is. And it also offers some mitigation, though it's not as good as Scholars. And you have strong tank healing. But the con is that you have fewer raid-wide cooldowns. Of course, you can just use Aspected Helios more often, or just normal Helios, right? But if you're trying to maximize your damage, you don't have a crazy amount of raid options. So, but that still puts it above the other two. Now, I want to talk about why this list I created. Now, this is pretty typical of most people's lists. If you look at other YouTubers or lists online, this is pretty typical. And I want to explain to you right now why it's dog shit. Okay? It's so misleading. You need 2 healers. We're a team. Why are we ranking them individually? Okay? And I wanted to do this because this is what everyone else does. So, okay, so there's 2 things, is that you always want a regen healer and you always want a shield healer to complement each other. Now, I also think it's a mistake to rank Astro as just Astro, because it's flexible and it can do both regen and shield, but one is clearly stronger than the other, and everyone agrees that regen is stronger than shield Astro. Diurnal Sect is stronger than Nocturnal Sect. So why are we encompassing it all in like one class? They pick one or the other. They can't pick both. Right? It's one or the other before they even start the fight. Not to mention, so if Nocturnal is worse than Regen, and Regen is clearly better than White Mage, and White Mage has no raid buff, I think that Scholar, that makes Scholar S tier, because Scholar does a better job of mitigating and doing what Scholar does than Nocturnal Sect Astro. I personally think that while Scholar has its shortcomings, it has a lot of these shortcomings, it is unmatched at what we do. No one can beat us at our own game. And what shortcomings we do have, both of the other healers are really good at it. Really good at it. Okay? Fantastic tank healing. Fantastic tank healing. I just feel like comboing Scholar with Astro is probably the strongest combo that you can have. I think that also Scholar combos better with White Mage than Astro Nocturnal Sect combos with White Mage. So, by default, I think that puts Scholar on top. And that's kind of a hot take, I know that's weird, but really, it's just about complementing your co-healer. And right now, it's not because Scholar is good. I mean, it's good, but it's not. But Scholar's not S tier because Scholar is good. Scholar is S tier because the other two healers do exactly what we can't do, and we thrive at what we do. All right. So now dungeon healing. All right, let me reset this. So I mostly base dungeon healing off of assuming that you can keep the tank alive, which they all can if you play right. I will admit, it is probably hardest to dungeon heal with Scholar. There you're going to encounter a lot of Scholars that cannot keep up. And I want to make a guide on how to heal a dungeon as Scholar and just handle like the biggest pulls. I really do. But if you can get over this hurdle, I think Scholar is really, really good. Our AoE does more damage than the other two. While, sure, White Mage's Holy will stun targets, but you can only stun them 3 times, right? The first time it stuns them for like 5 seconds. The second time it stuns them for like 3 seconds, and then the last time it stuns them for 1 second. And you can only get that stun off every other Holy. So like, what it turns into is you finish the pull, right? You stop, and then you cast Holy. And then you might want to, either you cast Holy again purely for the damage, or you cast a regen on your tank, and then you cast Holy again for the second stun. And so, while that's great, stunning is great, the Holy really locks you into animation. You can't heal while doing damage, and I feel like that's the major downfall of White Mage in dungeons. I think, like don't get me wrong, Holy is really good, but I think it's overrated. Okay. I think White Mage or Scholar is on the same level, especially when you consider the fact that Scholar has a very unique attribute that no one takes into consideration, and that is that Art of War is the only AoE that any of the healers can cast while running with the tank. You can get like 6 or 7 Art of Wars off before the tank even stops his pull. That's a huge amount of damage. I beat damage dealers all the time on pulls. All the time. I'm outperforming the other two healers in damage. And like I said, while it can be difficult, you can learn to heal big pulls with Scholar. And then Astro. So Astro is pretty straightforward when it comes to dungeons. I think it's good. Your ED, is good for handling the tank. You have both of these have quite a few tank cooldowns. At least Astro can damage more, can cast more AoEs than White Mage, though it's not as good of an AoE. You do have that short cast timer, so that way you can weave between it. So so I'm going to rank this in 2 different ways, okay? First one is ease of play. Ease of play. So this is going to look like this, and this is how it's set up for healing dungeons. Now, we're going to talk about speed, okay? I think Scholar is the fastest dungeon clearer. You do way more, I think you do way more damage as Scholar than you do any other healer in a dungeon. And I think that the other two, I think White Mage is probably at the bottom of this. Because while Holy is great, and it stuns, right? But you oftentimes have to interrupt it to dodge spells or AoEs on the ground, whereas Astro can just kind of sit outside of AoEs and just spam their ranged AoE, and then also heal the tank in between those casts. So this is the speed category, and I think that they're all going to be able to do dungeons. So it's not like a matter of, I want the one that's going to, heal the tank the best, right? They're all going to do it. As long as the tank doesn't die, you're good, right? And they're all capable of that. So So yeah, I don't know. I think Scholar's good, and I think someone needs to stick up for it. There's a huge misconception that for some reason the class is not good. So I felt a need to come out and say, no, actually, it's really good. Maybe you think I overestimate how good it is, but if you think so, let me know why I'm wrong. And leave a comment, like, and subscribe while you're at it. And thanks. See you next time.